Hi everyone. Welcome again to another episode of Artist Spotlight. And today we have special guest named Peter Bentley. Hi Peter.
Hey, Nina.
Thanks for being here. We worked together a while back at Amazon. We designed some cool stuff there, and so that's remembering back there. It was a fun time. Um, what did we work on? Do you remember?
Well, the first
Alexa,
one was Fire Phone, right? I remember being in that one room with Jay and Forrest and everyone.
Firephone.
You
Okay.
always had
Yeah, yeah,
nice jams going, nice music going. That was
yeah,
fun. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Rich. Yeah,
Did you work on Echo at all?
yeah,
Echo Plus? Yeah.
yeah. I never worked on the first version of Echo. I did have a beta device, but I didn't.
Okay.
But I worked on like Echo Show a little bit.
Okay.
You and Tim,
Yeah.
but I
So
was mostly on
Echo,
Fire TV and
oh, Fire TV. Okay.
icons for Kindle, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, well, cool. Well,
Yeah.
now we're not at Amazon anymore, but we're doing a lot of paintings. Both of
Yeah.
us do paintings. The reason I contacted you when was that? Maybe a couple of months ago to do a show together at one of my pop-up gallery was that I remembered that you came early in the morning to one of the Amazon building and you painted.
Hmm.
You paint the scene from inside the building, which is
Yeah.
kind of like it was a delightful surprise to see your colleagues actually took the time to bring the easel, all of that stuff, and paint before you work. So
Yeah.
that's dedication. So that's one of the reasons that kind of stood out to me that you're doing that. So that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
inspirational, I would say. That's
Thanks.
why you're here.
Yeah.
So before you continue, let's start from the beginning. Um, how um, Tell us about yourself. We want to get to know you a little bit more. How did you get started with your art and what
Yeah.
inspires? Yeah,
Yeah.
little
So,
back history.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was born in New York City, and actually my folks moved out here to the Northwest when I was very young. Um, but then I remember when I was a kid, we had a dog, and my dad did a drawing of the dog, and I just remember being very impressed by that as a kid. Um,
Ah,
I've since seen his sketchbook. He has an old sketchbook, which is very casually drew in a
yeah,
few times, a few places. I actually never really saw him draw much, but I drew a ton as a kid and
yeah.
really loved it. Um, and then in high school, I was very active. I was doing a lot of sports. I was playing in the percussion ensemble at school, and I was
Mm,
really wanted to do some art classes, but had trouble fitting them in. So I had to quit band in order to start taking drawing classes. And when I did,
yeah,
um, yeah, just had a really great time. I would come home from school and draw, and that's what I wanted to do with my free time. Once I got my homework done, it was like, okay, now I can draw.
yeah.
Uh, yeah,
Did you doodle at all in class?
yeah, for
Doodle,
sure, of course, yeah.
yeah. Doodle
All
and
the
visualize.
notebooks have the scrolls on the on the margins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was your dad an artist too?
No, my dad's a lawyer. He just retired actually. He's a criminal defense lawyer. My mother is a
Oh,
writer, and
okay.
taught English for a long time as well.
Yeah, yeah. I was just wondering why this the sketch, the dog sketch, kind of jumps
Yeah,
out.
I don't. It just sticks out of my memory.
Yeah. There must be
It's not.
something that, caught your eye. Why that did
Yeah, it wasn't like,
that you
oh,
remember.
my dad's an amazing artist, or like this is, oh, I want to be an artist just like my dad. But it was
Yeah.
something that like he drew this dog, and I was probably very young. It was our dog, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how, I must have been very young. I just remember seeing a sketch of it and thinking, wow, that's really cool. Um, and I don't know, I frankly used to draw a lot in church. I wasn't very interested in church when I was young. I attended church on Sundays. It was kind of like, oh, I had to sit through the sermons. I was like, okay, this is boring. How do I handle
Yeah. We
this?
just
And my mom
draw.
would
Yeah.
give me a notepad and I would draw. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, that's how I got through.
Yeah.
Um,
That's cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So that's how you get started. And then you know, how did you go after that? You
Yeah.
had
So
focus in art.
Yeah, in high school, I got to the end of high school and I was like not really sure what to do. Had really no idea what school to attend, where to go. I mean, there's so many different colleges in the United States. Like, how did you
Yeah.
figure out where to go?
Yeah.
And I had a friend of mine whose mother was like, "You should go to art school," and I had kind of never
Hmm.
even thought about it. This
Yeah.
was, I think, pretty late in the game. I can't remember. It was not. Hmm, I can't remember how late it was, but it was pretty late. Like, so I kind of rearranged my thinking. I was like, maybe it was summer of junior year, going into senior
Okay.
year. So I was like, was just starting to think
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, maybe I should go to art school. That'd be interesting.
College.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
so I did like an AP and advanced placement art class at my high school, which let me kind of basically
Hmm.
build a portfolio. Did a ton of like
Yeah.
self-portrait sketches and stuff like that. And
Okay.
then, from there went to my first year was at the Savannah College of Art and Design, and I had a great time there. One of the big reasons I wanted to go there is because they had a sports program. So I played soccer down there, which was a ton of fun.
Okay. Yeah.
And really enjoyed the foundation program, really had a good time. But also felt like I wanted a little bit more challenge, and I transferred to the Maryland Institute College of Art, which is the second
Hmm.
oldest art school in the country. And they had just a really fantastic drawing and painting program, and yeah, faculty that I really wanted to study with, and students were doing
Okay.
work I was really excited about. So um,
Okay.
yeah, I went
Yeah.
there. Um,
Okay. And then after that, when did you move to Seattle, or why did you move to Seattle?
yeah, so I grew up kind of in the Seattle area, right on the east side. And then after undergrad, I had options for graduate school. There's a few different schools I got into.
Okay.
And then, I really had a strong community back here at home,
Hmm.
both, family, friends, and church, and really did want to come back to Seattle.
So you went to UW?
Yep,
You graduated from UW, like master degree UW, or
yep.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
master's in painting and a master's in art history.
Okay.
Um, and then, I kind of decided, like, I got the master's thinking, oh, I could teach. If
Yeah.
I get a master's, that's like what you need to basically teach at the college level.
Yeah.
But also through that process, kind of decided I don't think I'm very good at teaching. I think I should do something
Okay.
else. I want to make stuff. So I
Yeah.
ended up, through a long process, ended up getting a job working in games, which was fun. So I worked as a therapist
Oh,
making
that's how
games.
you started in design. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
What did
That's
you
how I got
do? What
into.
did you? Okay. What did you do in games? Like,
So like I worked on downloadable PC games. I made backgrounds. I
okay,
painted backgrounds, painted levels for these different PC games. Uh,
got it. Okay. Did you paint with
Photoshop.
digital? No. Oh, Photoshop. Okay.
Yeah, Photoshop. And a lot of it was like actually like photo collage and painting mixed.
Mm-hmm.
It was about trying to create, we were making hidden object games. So games where you've got like a scene and you've got 100 objects hidden in it.
Yeah.
And the player is presented with a list of objects they need to find. So I've got to
I
hide
see.
all these objects in there. And I don't know. It
Yeah.
was, it was fun. I was getting paid to
Yeah.
make art and have fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
That's your first gig. And
yeah.
then what's after that?
Well, so that was all that was pretty volatile. Like I got laid off twice.
Okay.
Studio closures, they shut down and they lay everyone off. So then I was like, okay. I ended up getting a contract job at Microsoft, based
Yeah.
on some 3D experience I had, and then
Mhm.
worked for a year at Microsoft. And then that was just a contract gig, and then ended up getting hired at Amazon. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and worked in digital products at Amazon. That's where you and I
Wait,
first
so
worked together.
that's interesting. So when you move to Amazon, though, there's no background to paint.
No, not at all. It's very different. It's much more like
Is
pure
it?
UX at the time.
Yeah. So it's
Uh,
interaction design, product design. So there's
yep.
no illustration type of. There's no illustration at all at that point. You
Yeah,
didn't
no,
work on any
right,
illustration or paintings.
right.
Okay. Did
Which
you
was
miss it?
challenging because it's like, yeah, I wanted to be drawing, like, I mean,
Yeah. Oh,
but
that's
I've got a
that's
family to
that's why
provide
you
for.
paint. That's why
Yeah,
you paint
exactly. So
before
that's
work.
totally, yeah, that's why I would come into work and paint. And, I have, it was just the way my
Ah,
family set up. My wife stays home. So I've got like, I'm all the burden of, income is on me. So I was always trying to fit art into the corners, right? Find times and places
sure.
where I can do it. I
Yeah.
still am. And
Yeah.
that's why I brought paintings to work at Amazon. And try and get there
Yeah.
early.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm trying not to interrupt the
Okay.
workday. Try not to stand out too much, right? Like I don't want people to be too like, what's he doing? Like,
Yeah.
But
Okay.
trying to find a time and a place
Cool.
where I can do
Yeah.
work.
Nice.
Um,
Nice. So
yeah,
so after Amazon, you moved to a different companies, but still doing similar
similar
work,
product
like
design. Yep, yep,
interaction design, right?
yep.
And did you find ways to paint too then nowadays?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I've done similar at the other companies where I'll set up in the space, before
okay,
work hours and do some painting in the morning, maybe do some in the evening. Like in the
yeah,
summers in Seattle, there's much more light. I mean, it stays light till like 9:15, 9:30.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like a couple summers ago, I would get off, I would go into work really early and then get off at like 3, go
Hmm.
paint in the afternoon, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. somewhere, and get dinner with my family, hang out with them a little bit, go out and
Yeah,
paint again. A lot of painting in the neighborhood. The paintings I've got in the show with you now, those
yeah.
are a lot of those are done just kind of,
Neighborhood.
yeah, my neighborhood.
Uh-huh. Okay. And then those are acrylic or oil?
Those are oil. Yeah.
Most are oil. Okay.
Yep.
It's interesting how you can bring oil stuff into the office.
Yeah.
And we didn't smell anything. I didn't remember smelling anything.
Yeah.
So
Good.
that, I mean, I guess because the painting itself is not that big, the one that you brought
Yeah.
to the office, right? It's kind of
Right.
small,
Right.
contained. So that's fine. That's cool.
Yeah, it definitely puts limits on it, right? Like you can't, if you're working in that way at an office where you
Yeah,
don't really own the
yeah,
space, you can't bring
yeah,
a big canvas
yeah.
in. And it's like, yeah, you're going to be limited.
And then the way you paint, though, that's fascinating to me. You actually, it's kind of plein air kind of
Hmm.
painting, right?
Yep.
That's why you
Yeah.
go to the location in the office, look outside the office to see the cityscape, and you paint
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Um, why? So why did you like that
Yeah.
method? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great question. A common one I get is like, why not just paint from a photograph? Uh,
Hmm.
and I think I don't have anything against folks who paint from photograph. I think that's great. I think there are circumstances where I probably would do that too. But for
Yeah.
the most part, I'm really inspired by the world around me, inspired by
Mhm.
light, inspired by texture, shape, the way that space is created through 2 dimensions, and the
Yeah.
way every day really is pretty different. There are
Yeah.
certainly days that are similar weather-wise and light-wise, but there's so many things that are different day to day that
Yeah.
I really enjoy both the challenge of getting out there and saying, okay, what does this look like today? And how do I mix the right colors and put them in the right places
Mhm.
so that I can convey to someone else who's looking at this painting later on, kind of the inspiration I
That
got
moment.
from the space. Yeah, that moment, that time, and that
Yeah.
atmosphere. Uh,
Yeah.
that's kind of the goal of what I'm doing. And you could do that with a photograph, but I'm just kind of less inspired by that process.
Hmm. Yeah. I
To
guess
me,
it's more. Go ahead.
no, I was just say to me, the challenge of getting out there and having to deal with something like in real life, it's
Hmm.
it's just really invigorating and fun.
Yeah. I guess yeah, this is what I was gonna say too. It's more challenging in a way.
Yeah,
It's a different challenge, I guess, not,
it's a different challenge, right? Right.
because you have to, yeah, you have to think about the weather a little bit and kind of
Yeah.
move around
Yep.
that way. Yeah. And have you seen anybody like looking at you funny
For sure. For sure.
when
Yeah.
you're painting on the street?
For sure. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I've definitely had, anyone who does the kind of work I do, if you're out and, you're basically interacting with the public at different points, some of the public is very welcoming and
Yeah.
excited and interested in what you're doing. Sometimes you get into these conversations, you're like, okay, I want to be painting, but okay, this is good to chat, like, and it's fun to meet
Yeah.
neighbors
Yeah.
that way.
I
It's a good thing.
but most
I've had
yeah.
times when people are like, pretty skeptical about what I'm doing. Like, like, are you committing a crime right now? No, I'm just painting. This is not a criminal activity. This is just fun.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, but most of the time, I could imagine people want to see what's going on. Like
yeah,
they actually, yeah, excited to see. Oh,
yeah.
somebody's painting. I want to see what's happening. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
different people have different levels of exposure to that too, as well. Like some people, like I think if you did this in France, it's pretty common, right? Like, or at
Mm.
least people be less surprised by it. But doing it
Yeah.
here, kind of, and in our time, like in the
Okay.
2024, right? Like painting outdoors, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's lots of people who do it, but not necessarily in neighborhoods or in places where I'm doing it. So people are very fascinated by it. Like, what is that guy doing? Doesn't he know what a
Not in
camera
the
is? Like,
not in the dark alley.
yeah.
At
Yeah.
night, no,
Yeah.
you don't paint. And have you paint at night?
I have painted. I've done some
Yeah.
painting at night. Specific, like a lot of my work right now, like I have to fit it around my family's schedule. So I
Yeah.
had kids playing soccer during soccer season. It's dark at night. It's in the winter. It's like, okay, well, I can go set up near wherever they're practicing. And I know that I've got an
Yeah.
hour and a half block where I can paint if I do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Schedule and rhythm and routine is really important and really hard. Like it's really hard for me when routine changes. So
Yeah.
like, but if I can kind of get into the flow of that where it's like, okay, I know every Tuesday and Thursday I'm going to have a 1.5 hour block to paint, then I can
Hmm.
either paint at the same place each time or, it provides a nice consistent way of saying, okay, you're going to be able to paint during this time. So yeah,
Yeah.
I've done some night painting basically around soccer practices and stuff like that.
Okay, that's interesting. But do you have like lights on your head or something like that to make sure the color is correct?
Yeah, yeah,
How
there's
do you?
different tricks. Yeah,
Okay.
one of the biggest
Okay.
tricks is trying to set up in a place where you're well lit, right? So setting up under a
Okay.
street light or something like that. I
Got
mean,
it.
it can be challenging and you can kind of, I mean, that's probably the biggest challenge of painting at night is how do you
Yeah.
handle light source? I've seen different people do different things like, setting up having a battery powered light with you that you can set up on your easel. I haven't gone
Mhm.
that far yet, but
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Interesting. Maybe this is a fun challenge for you, like, doing a couple of paintings that in the challenging environments,
for
like
sure. Yeah.
painting in the rain.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done some painting in the rain. There's an
Yeah.
artist I really admire, Peter Brown, who works in England.
Uh,
And
yeah.
he calls himself an all-weather painter. And I'm like, wow, I think I would like freeze. I don't know. Like, he just gets out no matter what the weather is. It's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
pretty
Okay. Well, cool.
family. I don't know. It's
Uh,
cool.
yeah. So it seems like you do a lot of managing time around the family, um, which you're doing great. And so tell us, like, how do you balance that so
Yeah.
so that you can still produce and fulfill at the same time, balance with the
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
yeah, and
It's
work,
challenging. Sorry,
right,
what was the last piece you said?
and your work,
Yeah.
your job, right, and
Yeah,
stuff
my
like that.
job, right? Yeah. My job is pretty, I would say like of the things that I do in life, you know, family can have its challenges, right? Like you've got different people with different desires, and it's like, you want to create a place where everyone's excited to be. So that's family can be challenging.
Mm,
Work right now, it's like I feel like, it's really we're working on something really challenging, but my role in that is pretty like limited. So I'm
mhm,
able to kind of show up, do my work, and be productive at work
mhm.
and
Yeah,
then leave it. Like I don't carry it home with me a lot.
right,
Like
right,
I'm
right.
able to check out when it's time to check out and
Okay,
be done with it.
so
So
got it.
I mean, I've
The couple,
intentionally chosen to remain in the job where that's true. Even
yeah,
though I
yeah,
still feel like I'm doing productive work there and it's like I'm making a great contribution. I get good reviews and all that stuff, but
mhm,
it's not it's taking up the right amount of space in my life.
yeah,
It's
right,
not seeping
awesome.
over into the weekends. Very
Yeah,
rarely do I
yeah,
have to stay late to do something extra.
yeah,
So those are, like on the family front and on the work front, that's how I manage it. But then
yeah,
finding time for painting is a function of like making sure that I've got a routine. Like if you think about it, if you work 8 hours a day for a job,
hmm,
how much time do you want to spend with your family? You're going to be awake probably for at least another 8 hours, right? If you're getting 8 hours of sleep, and sleep is important.
yeah,
I think it is really
yeah,
like
yeah,
I try and give myself an 8 hour sleep opportunity every night if I can. But some nights
yeah,
you can't. Um, but like you basically have there's a big chunk of time that you can
mm,
actually use. Do you really need to hang with your family eight
hmm,
hours in order to be a good dad, be a good husband? I don't think
hmm,
so. I think you can do it with less. But
yeah.
I do,
Eight,
what's that?
8 minutes, eight
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah, you should be good. You've seen me for 5 minutes, you should be fine, right? No,
Got it.
like, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I like my kids, I like my family, I like to be around them. So it's
yeah.
not a matter of like trying to get less time with them, but it is a matter of
Uh-huh.
trying to say, I think that I have something to give the world beyond,
Hmm.
myself as a father and or myself as an
Yeah,
employee. I think what I'm making matters. I hope it does, and I'm trying to make
yeah.
something that does matter. So it's kind of like, in order to do that, you have to set up time for it. You have to make sure, like, you know,
Hmm.
sometimes for me that's like 8 to 10 p.m. Sometimes that's 3 to 6 p.m. It varies throughout the year, or depending on our life circumstances, what's going on with our kids or
Yeah.
whatever. But it is a matter of like trying to say, okay, this is the time where I'm going to be able to do this, and no one, if you call me on the phone, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to answer. Like all sorts of, you have
Uh-huh.
to create space for yourself to like actually
Yeah.
produce.
Yeah. That's a good point. I like the idea of creating you kind of creating your own mental space too. It's not just the time, but the mental space, the fact that you choose a job that doesn't require it to bleed off the working time, which is
Right.
really important as people who likes both worlds, the job and the business. How do you not consolidate, but it's a mingle between the two, right?
Yeah.
Mingle in a way that, like you said, it's not like you bringing the work home. That's not just like physically you bringing things, but mentally it's heavy. You don't have
Absolutely.
space to paint.
Yep.
So that's really important. I think that's great point where some artists may be, having hard time to find maybe to find what is the job that could help me paint.
Yeah.
I can't really do full time either, but I want to find a job, but my job maybe requires me to do X, Y, and Z that I was, drained after the job, and you don't
Yeah.
have capacity to paint anymore. So I think
Right.
finding that the right fit kind of job where, like you said, you're still producing and doing great work in the job, but not really slacking off, but it's just the requirements is there
Yeah.
to fill the shoes that they
Yeah.
need.
I find that like for painting, I can't paint if I feel like I've got outstanding obligations,
Mm.
things that I've
Mm.
left undone. I mean, there's
Yeah,
always going to be things left undone, but like really important things. Like if I feel like, there's some problem over here that I'm just not addressing, it's going to be really hard for me to paint. Or if
yeah,
I feel like, I've got to deliver this thing for work, but it's not done, I'm not going to be able to
yeah,
paint, right? Like I
yeah,
need to be able to get to a place at the end of each work day where it's like, yep, I've done what I can for today. I've accomplished what I think I should accomplish. Now I
yeah,
can leave and go home, do the same thing with home, make sure everything's settled. And then
yeah,
like, and then I'm free. Then it's like, yep, here I am. Now I've got 2 hours and I can paint.
yeah.
I don't have to
Okay.
think about this other stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's good point. Yeah. So it's not nothing hanging over your head, kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Um, so what's going on right now? I guess you're juggling the three
Yeah.
things and keep going, keep painting, right?
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, trying to find the path. I think my goal right now, so what's great about my situation in the last 2 years is that I've been able to find time to paint. Uh,
mhm,
you can't really advance an art career without paintings or without work. So I've
mhm,
been able to find some time to produce work. So now I have a bunch of work, which is great. I want to keep producing work and keep, finding ways to produce work that I'm excited about. But
yeah.
the big thing for me is trying to figure out where are the right opportunities to show that work and to
Mhm,
get and to some extent, is there different work that I should be doing in order to get to a place where I could, I think in many respects, the biggest thing I want to do is have more time for painting. And I think that it seems
mhm,
like in order to do that, I would need to have uh, a career as an artist. I need to be selling work, right? And so, um,
yeah.
kind of like right now, I sell some, but not enough to kind of like take over for my job. If I could someday
Sure.
get to a spot where I'm making more
Yeah.
from painting than I am from my
Yeah.
job,
Yeah.
and I'm excited about the work that I'm doing when I'm painting, that's
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
important caveat.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
that's kind of the dream, and that's what I'm
Yeah.
working towards.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
trying to find a
Yeah,
way to,
because I mean, if you think about it, the painting part, the job is the job. Is the job, right? That's the characteristic of a job. You go there, you do the work, you get paid more regularly. The
right,
painting,
consistent,
the, the painting,
yeah,
yeah, the painting is not a job, is a business. So you kind of have to think about it as that, as a business.
yeah,
And you're not gonna have the regular thing like the job because it's a different thing. It's
yeah,
but I like that you know your focus is creating more work. I think creating more. I think you mentioned this before when we were working at Amazon about mileage.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you do more, you get the mileage.
right.
Yeah. Did you talk about it, the mileage or wine? I don't remember what
I
analogy
don't know.
you.
I mean, there's different analogies, but yeah, you do need to get mileage. You need to put them out. Like
Yeah,
there's a bunch of books that I've read about business. One of the ones I can't remember. There's one famous example. I think it's a Maxwell book. I think where he talks about turning the crank. Right. You need to figure
yeah,
out what it is in the world that you do best. Right. That what do you do better than anyone else in the world? And it can be kind of arrogant to think that way. Right. Like,
yeah,
really? Is there something that I do better than everyone else in the world? Well, maybe, maybe not. It doesn't. What's important is that you believe that you're doing something really
yeah,
important. And when you do
yeah,
that really important thing, it's like turning the crank. You keep turning the crank. Yeah,
yeah,
get the mileage, get the time spent. You have to put in the work in order to be
yeah,
able to
yeah.
have a,
I would turning the crank on what you just said about what you really good at in the world. Another aspect of that is what is it that reflect who you are the
Mhm.
most, the work, you know. They call it authentic work.
Yeah,
So there are a lot of ways to get there. But yeah, it's really about, you know, reflecting if the work that I'm doing is really is my kind it's mine.
right,
It's my, you know.
right.
Uh yeah. That way is automatically becomes a unique thing.
Mm.
Unique how it shows up in the world. Um Unique how we talk about it in the world, and unique how we show it, you know,
Yep,
to the world. And that's our own work.
for
Um
sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
all artwork is an expression of a person's
of
personality.
you, right? Yeah.
You can see their personality in the work, right? Like
Yeah.
your playfulness, I think, is evident in your
Hmm.
work, right? It's like
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
you are comes out in the paintings, and I think that's really, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
definitely
I
good.
think also, it's a process to find what that is. I mean, everybody, most artists talk about, like, you know, it's a journey to find voice. I mean, I
Yeah,
keep writing those things in my statement. In yeah, but basically that it's a lot of looking within and looking also out, figuring out what does that even really mean, you
yep,
know? Uh, but I guess first thing first is awareness. Like, oh, okay, that's what we need to do. Okay,
yeah,
let's get to work and get to it.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
it's very much a journey, right? It's very much a process. Like I wouldn't say I've got it sorted out yet. Like I'm not as successful as I'd like to be. Someday I hope to be more successful. It's like, or more, I have to sell more work, be able to do more work. Like it's a
yeah,
that's a process. And it is that big part of it is figuring out what is it that you have to tell to the world or to show to the world. What is it?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
that's a big part of it for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. But also, like, I'm reflecting on that, the word success too. What is success to
Yeah,
me?
yeah, of course.
Um, Somehow it's changing over time too. Like, maybe a couple of years ago, success means full-time artist.
Yeah,
Maybe not so much right now, because that is not really a criteria for me. It's a different thing, right?
sure.
I don't know. I think that feels like those kind of things kind of fluctuate at differences. Maybe
Yep.
also mood swing. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. What did you eat for lunch? Yeah, or breakfast?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so
Yeah.
yeah. So what's next for you now? I know that you said keep cranking on working things. I'm glad that you can show some of the work in the
It's been
pop-up
really fun to
gallery.
show. Yeah, it's been
So
really fun to show.
hopefully you get some, uh, exposure a little bit here and there. But yeah, I don't know what's after that for you, other
Yeah,
than
you know,
more work. Yeah,
and which I think relates to the question of success and how you define success. I think, and it's totally cool for folks to define it on their own terms and what it's about. For me, like ultimately, I want to make paintings that like people are so excited about that when they give them to their children, they don't throw them away, right? Like or like or they don't get to
yeah,
the end of their life and think, oh, here's this garbage, let's
yeah,
just throw it away. Like I want to make something that lasts, and it really is important. Part of that is like ultimately it would be really cool to have some
yeah,
work in a museum, right? That to me is like a marker of success to be collected by,
Yeah.
some minor institution maybe, or, maybe a major one,
Or major, or major.
like it's
Yeah.
important to dream, right? It's important to
Yeah,
dream.
yeah, yeah. No. Shoot for the start.
Yeah.
For
So
the
in terms
for
of what's
Mars.
next, like I think,
That's good.
getting to that place is a matter of like there is a path to that. I might be
Yeah.
totally off the path. I may never get on that path, but like the path is, showing, period.
Yeah.
Showing in, group shows, showing in solo shows, changing the galleries that you show at and showing at places that get more and more critical acclaim, get more and more folks talking about your work, right? Getting into a spot where you feel like you're making work that matters and that is kind of part of the conversation in art history,
Yeah.
right? Like you're joining the conversation, you're engaging with the topics and providing a meaningful perspective on all that stuff in a way that makes it so that
Yeah.
your voice, your work matters. That's for me kind of where I'm trying to go. So next steps are trying to build up my resume as an
Yeah.
artist. It's pretty thin right now. I had a bunch of shows when I was younger near graduate school, and then kind of as I worked in games and was trying to build my family or trying to like raise my family, I just didn't have a whole lot of shows. So I think that for me
Yeah.
is right now is the big thing, trying to build my resume up, get more opportunities to show, but
Yeah.
also really do work that gets people's attention and gets people excited about
Yeah.
painting.
Have you done any commission work?
I have, yeah, yeah. I've done commissions, different types. Right after undergrad, I did probably the most interesting commission I've ever done was there was one of the trustees of MICA, the Maryland Institute College of Art, where I went, um, hired me right after I graduated they had, they're wealthy and they had a vacation home out on the Eastern Shore in Maryland, and a
Mhm.
guest house that I got to stay in and kind
Yeah.
of paint around the property. But there was two specific paintings they commissioned me to do, two landscapes of different places that they
Yeah.
were excited about kind of in that area. So
Mhm.
yeah, that commission was really great. I've done other ones similar. I've never done a commissioned portrait, but I have done like house portraits, things like that.
Yeah.
Pieces people are
Have
excited.
you have you connected back to them yet
No,
after? Well,
what do you mean, like connected back with those patrons?
connected. Yeah. For me is one thing that I have learned over time is that um, just like any business, right? Um, connection is the most important thing. I
Sure,
mean, we do painting, um, and then connecting back to the people who bought our
sure.
things way back when, or that lost touch or something like. Ideally, we never lost touch. We
All right, you stay in
send
touch.
cards. Yeah, even send Christmas cards or things like that reminds them that you exist.
Yeah,
Tell them that you're how important that project was.
yeah,
Truthfully, right? It has to be authentically, you were you appreciate those moments.
yeah,
Like what you just said to me was, was it's a great project for you. So how do you I think to me that's kind of like uh that's your marketing strategy.
yeah,
That's our marketing strategy as a maker. How we connect with our patron is important because it's
yeah,
kind of personal, one-to-one type of connection. So if
yeah.
you haven't,
I would say I'm
if
bad
you
at
haven't connected,
it.
yeah, I would say that's one of the biggest. If I want to teach everybody that they need to know, one thing is this one. I would say, connecting to
Yeah,
our our collectors. Even collectors means they bought multiple.
sure.
Even for them who's not collecting yet, just one, it's always a good thing to always connect with them. Not that I'm really good at that as well. I'm starting to be more intentional about connecting and reconnecting with those buyers. Even the smaller one who bought small things, as long as they buy originals, there's a thank you card and there's an extra that we're
Yeah,
saying how appreciative we are that you care about my work because it's very
yeah,
personal, right?
yeah,
Um, so I think, yeah, I think those are as important as how we make our work too.
yeah,
So we're making and we selling or sharing, and then where's the circle of life thing, we always connecting with them. That's how if they appreciate your work or the experience that you work with them in that commission, they might um tell their friends about it.
Right. There could be
And
more opportunities
how
that
you,
come from it. Yep,
that's how
exactly.
you get multiple kind of
Yeah.
referrals.
I think I have
You get
more to learn on that.
refer sorry.
I think I have more to learn on that front.
Happy to chat more about that. Yeah, I mean, it's something that I'm learning as well, and then and I think it makes a lot of sense
Yeah,
because our work making art is not making toilet paper. It's a
right,
different kind of thing.
right.
So we cannot sell it like we sell toilet paper. It's so from that point of view, it's really important to pay attention to, how we connect with
Yeah,
with
you
the
care for the
buyer.
customers. That totally makes
We
sense.
definitely,
Yep.
yeah, we would definitely
Yeah.
do that.
If you've read any good
Anyway,
books on that, I'd be all ears. Have
if I was, sorry,
you
you
read any good books?
you bring it up.
Oh shoot. Sorry. Any good books on that?
If you Oh, books. uh there's a book called Unreasonable Hospitality.
Hmm.
Unreasonable Hospitality. You should read that. I read half of it, I think. This is by the restaurant owner in New York City
Hmm.
about, but I think the gist of it is that it's about how do you go to extra mile
Yeah.
for the customer, right? It applies to everything, but it applies really well for us, for a
Yeah.
one of the kind, because you don't make print yet,
I don't.
or you don't want thinking about making print. Your work is about really in the moment, special time. Even how you make it is really special time. You don't willy nilly making it. You planned it out, and I think if you if you bring that carry through to the customer, that becomes like a special. It's an experiential work.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
it's very one of a kind. So, in one of a kind, you can charge a lot more for one of a kind because it
Yeah.
is one of a right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't done reproductions. I mean, I've done some printmaking in college and thought about, oh, it'd be fun to do more like lithography. Um,
Mhm.
I feel like I draw a lot, and that would be fun to make drawings that I could sell multiple of. Um,
Yeah.
but just
Yeah.
haven't explored it yet.
Yeah. Okay. No,
Yeah.
but I feel like your work is very kind of so far what I've seen is one of the kind pieces. So,
Nice. Yeah. Well,
it's a
yeah. Yeah. Most of the work I'm making is just single originals. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So, um you treat it that way. Um okay. Okay, so one last thing. If you have anything before we close, any advice for your young self or for other artists who,
Yeah.
you know, thinking about plein air or thinking, anything really.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems to me like the most important thing for an artist is, well, maybe it's two, right? Um,
Mhm.
One is believe in if like you make art because you believe that you have something to give to the world, right?
Right.
Fundamentally, it's
Right.
about what do you have that the world should see? And I think you basically need to believe that that's true, that you have something to give. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to make work. Um, and then the second is
Right.
really about putting in the work, right? You have to do a lot of work. It's going to be hard work. It's not going to be
Mhm.
easy. If you
Yeah.
really want to succeed,
Yeah.
or like and by whatever standard, I think you really have to put
Yeah.
in a lot of hard work. You have to make the time. You
Yeah.
have to, for a lot of people, it's working two jobs, right? Maybe you got your main job and then you've got your art job, and you need to think about it
Yeah.
like. and I show up to my job and do the work and make sure that I'm actually doing it and not becoming
Right.
lazy, just expecting people to like give me
Yeah.
something based on who I am, right? Like that's silly. No, you should produce work that inspires
Yeah.
people, and then maybe they'll give you some money for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Agree. Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
So
Well, that's great advice and great chat with you,
yeah.
reconnecting. So thank you again for this
Yeah.
time and sharing your background and what are you doing and where are you going.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thanks
it's
for
so
having
awesome.
me. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
it's so awesome to see your work back there. There's a lot of work with.
Thanks. Yeah, yeah.
Uh, and yeah, I'm lucky enough to, showing your work in the real place to see your real work, almost touch it. So I appreciate you sharing that with
Well, I
that.
appreciate the opportunity you've given me to show a few times. It's been great. It's fun to show
Yeah,
alongside. So thanks.
yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Well, thanks again. I guess
Yep.
I'll see you around.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you
Bye.
later, Nina.
Bye.
Bye.